In today's video, we're going to talk about propranolol and why I stopped using it for blushing and flushing and erythrophobia. So stick around.
Gotta stand up straight. Gonna rise like a champion.
So who am I and why do you care to listen to me first and foremost? Well, hello there. My name is April. I'm the founder of Blushing Phoenix, and I was suffering from erythrophobia for over 6 years. It really impacted me most on my chest and my neck, but later it started to come up my face as well into blushing. I was able to overcome erythrophobia through exposures and body work and other mechanisms that essentially led me to a place of self-compassion and discovering my self-worth, which unlocked my voice and gave me the ability to take back my power. I've worked in numerous executive leadership roles with erythrophobia. I've authored 2 books. I've been on live TV multiple times, and I was interviewed by Fortune magazine, all while living with erythrophobia. I'm a certified transformation coach and empowerment coach, and I have talked to people from all over the world who have dealt or are dealing with or have overcome blushing, flushing, erythrophobia, the full spectrum that has to do with the fear of blushing. I've had this YouTube channel for nearly 4 years, and so to say that I have been around this topic is an understatement. If you're looking to beat erythrophobia, the fear of blushing, then you have come to the right place. At Blushing Phoenix, we empower passionate, creative, and ambitious people who are held back by erythrophobia and other social challenges to confidently show up in the world by reframing the negative thoughts surrounding blushing and empowering you to thrive on your own terms through transformative action. If I can beat erythrophobia, I know that you can too. And if that's what you're looking to do, then you, my friend, have come to the right place. And I hope today's video is just what you need. This topic of propranolol seems to be one that the blushing community is really interested in. Many people have tried this medication. It's a beta blocker. I have other videos that talk more about what it is, side effects, and how it impacted me in such a positive way. I wasn't on it very long. I was only on it for a couple of months. I was testing it out. I needed something to help me get over the fear, and I think for me it was part of an avoidance behavior, even though some people are like, oh, don't use avoidances, but for me it was the avoidance behavior that ultimately helped me gain my confidence to get into a place to let go of the medication, to give myself more exposures and be able to move through the blushing and in turn beat erythrophobia. So personally, I was on the medication for 2 months, but I speak very highly of it because I saw the most immediate impact with that medication. So for people who are struggling, who really are having a hard time reframing their thoughts around blushing, I would suggest talking to your doctor about propranolol based off of my own experience, because it was able to kind of help me get this time out so that I could get my thoughts and my head in a better place so that I could move through the redness. But for today's video, I'm talking about why I stopped taking it. Well, I kind of already spoke to it a little bit. When I went to pursue medication, my personal plan was not to stay on medication. I was in a place where I really needed some help kind of getting my grounding so that I could feel more equipped as I showed up in situations, in environments, around people, in a very social space, to be able to find my voice and connect to myself and be able to put me out there into the world. Knowing that I was most likely going to flush, I needed that little take the edge off medication to get me there. And it worked wonders for me. I used it for 2 months. I had a lot of in-office meetings. For the most part, I did not flush when I used it. And during the times that I did flush, because it wasn't 100% foolproof, but when I did flush, I noticed that I wasn't self-obsessing when I took the medication. So some people talk about the side effects, and again, you can go back and look at other videos about that, but the side effects that can create some drowsiness, some people have experienced some dizziness and some other adverse side effects. But for the most part, per my doctor, this is a medication that has very minimal side effects, and so that's why they look to prescribe that to people who struggle with social phobias, erythrophobia, public speaking, and anxiety as well. So the plan for myself was not to be on anything long term. I don't personally like to be dependent upon something. So the goal was to utilize it for a short amount of time and then work my way off of it. And also I wanted to try some sort of medication because during that time I was giving a lot of information to Blushing Phoenix folks, and I wanted to be able to share back with you if it worked for me or not, because I had read on numerous web pages about people who used propranolol or beta blockers and it didn't do anything for them. So I immediately just kind of put that thought out of my head that there was a medication that could help, until I talked to my healthcare provider about it directly, and she suggested propranolol. She said that her sister actually was a medical provider who worked in the OR, who shaked under pressure, was shaking under pressure, and that her doctor actually prescribed propranolol for her to get her nerves to calm so that her hands wouldn't be shaking, because you probably don't want a shaky healthcare provider in the OR, if you know what I mean, right? I started on 40 milligrams and I didn't really know what to expect, so I took it and realized when I worked from home, it actually made me pretty drowsy, but not to the point of where I just had to go lay down. I just didn't feel very upbeat. But if I took the medication and went out in public or went to work in the office, I didn't notice much of the side effects at all. I did notice that because there was that edge of tiredness, that I wanted to drop it down to 20 milligrams. So I actually cut my small pills in half and only took half to see if there was a difference. I felt better on the 20 milligrams. I felt like it was a more appropriate dosage, but the 40 milligrams, again, it wasn't that it was a bad dosage. I just don't really like to take medication. So to get back to the point of why I stopped taking propranolol, essentially, it's just because I didn't want to be on it long term. I do think it was beneficial. I think it helped bridge the gap in my confidence and in my mental capabilities to get to the next place in my journey. And I think it was a great medication for helping me get to the other side. So I saw incredible improvements just in the lack of flushing. If I did flush, it seems as though I didn't flush very long because I wasn't self-obsessing. So much of flushing, when we are so inwardly focused and self-obsessing, we are perpetuating that energy of self-obsession and perfectionism and all the things that we want to be. We're only hyper fixated on ourselves, and so we make the intensity of that flush and blush that much worse. When I was on propranolol, it took that edge off. I didn't self-obsess. Therefore, even if I did have a flare, a big flushing flare, it didn't stay for long because I just didn't care. And that in and of itself made it worth it. So I get that question a lot. Do I still take propranolol? I do not. I have the prescription. It is somewhere. When we moved, I don't even know where it is. I have considered taking it a couple of times. Last year in October, I met with my company. We're a remote company, but I met with everybody in person, and I considered taking it then because I was going to be doing a presentation during that time. But if you've been around for a while or you're getting to know me now, I like to show up. And again, that is what Blushing Phoenix was created for. It was created for passionate, creative, ambitious people who want to show up, that are trying to get their bearings, that are trying to bridge that gap. So people who are on the journey and on the path, because that's who I am. And so I didn't take it because I wanted to feel every aspect of the discomfort, because I believe if this was wired into you, it can be wired out. I did not always have blushing and flushing, and I definitely didn't have erythrophobia. And so the fact that I was able to create that over time, I knew that I could create a new story if I gave it a new meaning, and if I keep showing up in environments and teaching my body that we are safe and we belong and there is nothing that can take our power away. We are not inferior. The only way we can ever be inferior is if we tell ourselves we are inferior. Nobody gets to dictate that for us. Nobody gets to tell us that we are not good enough, that we don't belong, that our redness is making us of less worth and value. And that's why I started Blushing Phoenix, to take that power back. Wherever you are on your journey, just know you are not alone, and that you are taking the necessary steps to get back to yourself. And if propranolol or any other medication or therapy or body work or whatever help you may need to get there is what you decide is best for you, That is between you and your healthcare provider. If you're looking to understand more about erythrophobia and reframing your thoughts about it, you can check out my ebook that's called Understanding Erythrophobia. It will help you to essentially understand the fundamentals of erythrophobia, what does it mean, and that you're not alone with it, but it also gives you some tips and techniques based off my own experience of how I started to reframe my thoughts around erythrophobia and some of the steps that I took to ultimately live life beyond the blush. Leave a comment below and tell me any takeaways that you've gained from this video, any light bulb moments that you had. I love hearing from you all, and I would love to hear from you. You can also join our monthly newsletter where you will get insights that I don't always share in that type of format on this channel. Be sure to check out blushingphoenix.com. The link is in the description box below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you found it helpful, and I'll meet you back here next week for a new video. But until then, rise and thrive, Phoenix.
Rise up, rise up, rise up. When you've had enough, when the crowd gets rough.